Hello guys, what's up? Welcome to the new tutorial from the SketchUp Studio. In this case, I'm going to show you how you can use Enscape for SketchUp for your 3D renderings. So before we start this tutorial, please like and subscribe our YouTube channel and let's get to work. I'm going to open the SketchUp 2023 and this is the simple house that I downloaded from the 3dwarehouse.com. And you can download it very simple and easy, and the file name is the Frank Lloyd Wright for the SketchUp. So I'm going to start my job with the Enscape plugin. As you can see, Enscape plugin I use related to the Enscape 3.5.2 plus 112393. So when I click on the general setting, I have some options related to the rendering, network, and preferences. So at the rendering only, I want to turn on the NVIDIA denoiser, and it helps you to create some type of denoised renders for your job. So as you can see, when I hold left click and move my cursor, it will set in my environment. So I'm going to press Ctrl and S and start Enscape in here. It takes a little bit time, and after that you can see the Enscape environment very simple and easy. So Enscape using the graphic card for the rendering. So the graphic card config and performance is really important in this case. So as you can see, this is the simple environment that we have in Enscape. When you click H on your keyboard, you can see the help guidelines in here. For example, WSAD or E or Q can move in the environment, a space related to the walking and flying. When I hold the left cursor, I can look around, and when I hold right cursor, I can orbit in my environment. The pan related to the scroll button, as you can see, and teleport related to the double clicking on some type of area. So it completely depends on you. And you can use this guideline for the starter, but it's not really professional, so you must see many type of tutorials to learn how to create some realistic renders in Enscape. So as you can see, first of all, I want to create my camera shot. So I will walk in some place like that, for example, something like this one. And I want to press F on my keyboard to create my first camera shot. For this reason, I'm going to click on the create view bar in here, and I want to change my name to the camera 1 and add it to my favorite renders. I want to unlink this render with the any type of ready visual settings. My position related to the X, Y, Z. X and Z is not really important, so you can adjust it manually like that. But Y related to the eye height, as you can see, it's related to some number about 1.8, and it means that your eye height is 1.8 meter. So I want to use the standard eye height like 1.6, and the pitch is related to the camera angle. As you can see, when I look to the upstairs, pitch will be increased for me. And when I look to the downstairs, pitch will be get negative parameters for me. So I prefer to use some number related to 16 like that. And Y is about camera rotation. As you can see, 35.3 degree is really important. And azimuth or altitude related to the time of the sunlight and sun brightness. So for changing the sunlight, I'm gonna hold shift and right click and move my cursor. As you can see at the right side in the bottom, you can see the time of the day, very simple and useful. So I want to use some type of clear lighting near to the morning, so I will select some type of lighting like this one, for example, something related to 6:30 a.m. and you can change the altitude for this parameter to the 7.6 degree, and azimuth, when I move the azimuth, you can see the changes in the environment. For example, if you want some sun brightness from the right side, you can play with some number related to 100 degree, or if you want some direct light, you can head it into the project. So it completely depends on you and your employer. So I want to use some type of lighting like this, for example. And I want to add some number about 97 degree and press create option. So when I click on the create option, as you can see, camera number 1 generated for me right now. So when I orbit in the environment, move to the other side, or move myself in some places near to the interior design, when I press F or click on the view management in the here, as you can see, I press F, for example, and click on the camera number 1, and all of the settings will relate it to the camera number 1 again. So let's get to the rendering. For the rendering, you have some few easy steps in Enscape. So I want to start my job with the save frame. Save frame helps you to create some type of normal and standard frame for your job. After that, at the right side, we have projection. Normal projection on the perspective, but I want to use 2-point perspective to see more depth of the horizon line. So at the 2-point perspective, you can see all of the big and important elements in the architectural design and show to the customers or users. So third step related to the visual setting. I'm going to click on the visual setting. We have 5 important boxes in here: main bar, image bar, atmosphere, sky, and output. When I click on the main bar, I want to reduce the rendering quality to the medium mode to let my system and computer work much smoothly than the past. So I hold it on the medium quality. At the output, I can change my resolution to the Ultra HD. As you can see, resolution will increase for you, or change it to the custom mode and use some customized numbers like that to change the aspect ratio. But I prefer to use the normal aspect ratio for it, and some type of HD right now is good. At the output, you can change the file format from PNG to the JPG. Automatic naming is some type of complicated setting. I don't want to talk about it right now because it's for the beginners and starters. At the skybox, you can change the sky setting. For example, change the source of the HDRi in here. Now we have white ground. When I change it to the white cubes, as you can see, some type of cubes like the city will generate it for us. Or I can change it to the urban or town, for example, and completely depends on you and what you want from the render. I prefer to use white cubes right now, and as you can see, we have many type of generated cubes in this place. You can change the rotation of it like that, very simple and easy, and it affects your lighting, so be careful about your rotation and other settings. Moon size related to the night render, so I don't want to talk about it right now. But the clouds option is really important. So I will move this window in here. Look at the clouds and the sky. At the Enscape, opposite of the V-Ray or Lumion, we have some easy setting for the clouds. First of all, density. When I increase the density, I will have some cloudy result in here. And when I decrease it, I will have some clear light in here. So in this case, I want to increase it to some type of cloudy weather. Some number like the 88%. After that, we have variety. You can change the variety for the cloud density and space or shape of the clouds. For example, when I decrease it, I can see some other format of the clouds, and when I increase it, I will have some more clouds with different shapes. So some number about 22 can be really good for this job. And cirrus amount related to some small clouds between each other which generated by the big clouds. So when I decrease the cirrus amount, I will have some clear sky than the past and shiny some brightness. And when I increase it, I will have some totally cloudy weather. So it completely depends on you and your taste and what you want from the rendering. So it's completely personal. I want to reduce the cyrus amount to the 0 because I need some clear sky, and contrail related to the plane and airplane cloud generation forces. So when I increase the contrails, you can see some type of fast hidden lines and lights on the sky. So it's a little bit graphical. For example, if you render some type of airport, you can use this type of options. So I want to turn it off to the 0, longitude and latitude related to the X and Y offset of the clouds. When I play with it, I can see the changes at the, for example, longitude. For example, I want something like that, and it's really good for my job. So I will set it on the manual. For example, 5,000 meter and 5,000 meter for it. And another box is the atmosphere box. Fog option is not important right now, so I will talk about it at the next sessions and next tutorials. But sun brightness related to the illumination bar is really important. When I decrease the sun brightness, look at the render what happened in here. As you can see, when I decrease it, I can see the ray trace in here, very simple. So it helps you to manage your sun power. I prefer to use 66% for this render, and night sky is not important, but shadow sharpness. Look at this place in here. Imagine you have some clear sun brightness on your project. So when I talk about clear sun brightness, I mean you don't have any type of obstacles about the lighting. Actually, your lighting will get much sharper. So the time of the day near to the morning and the light can be sharp but not too much. So you can manage the shadow sharpness, and completely depends on you. For example, look at this place, these shadows, and all of them completely depends on you. So I want to use some number about 64%, and I think it's really good for this job. Ambient and artificial light brightness is totally not important right now. And if you want to know how you can use it, at the end of the screen of this video, you can watch one of my videos about the ambient and artificial light brightness. Wind option is not important right now, and image bar. At the image bar, you have highlights and shadows. When I increase these shadows, I have more darkness in my environment, and when I decrease it, I have some low shadow power in these places. So I prefer to use it manually. When you check out the auto contrast, all of the colors will set automatically by the Enscape. But I don't want to use it right now because I have some works with it. So I will use -18, and highlights can be increased a little bit, about 8%. Look at these grasses in here. When I increase the saturation, I have more green and yellow power on my render. And it's totally wrong because it completely destroys your render and take it out of the realistic world. So I will use the saturation on the 100% default and color temperature. If you want some warmer render, you can decrease the color temperature, and if you want some cold render, you can increase it like that. So it completely depends on you. In this case, I want to increase it to the 7600 Kelvin. Motion blur is 0, and lens flare is some number about 34%. Bloom option about 22, and vignette is about 8, and chromatic aberration is not important. So at the main bar, we have final settings. So in this case, I'm going to add some type of objects for my render. In this case, I'm going to open the asset library in Enscape environment. But before you check the asset libraries, because it's worked with the internet, always came back to the SketchUp environment and save your file and rendering settings. So now I want to change the category of the assets to the vegetation. And I think some type of green tree can help us to manage the color balance on the render. So at the tags, I'm going to check the tree option in here, and I want to use some simple tree for my job, not very big, not very small. Some type of medium quality tree can be really good. For example, I think something like that one. I will add it in my environment and click on the apply changes after seconds. So as you can see, it will generate for you very simple, and this is the final result. So this tree have some good qualities. So I'm going to close the asset library, minimize the Enscape, came back to the SketchUp environment and play with this tree, but I don't know how. So I want to fill these empty places and only focus on my house for realistic results. How I can do this job? First of all, I must click on the visual setting at the Enscape environment, move it in this place, and reduce the field of view to focus on my house. For example, something like this is really good. And I will press F on my keyboard, edit camera number 1, and move my camera shot a little bit to the sky mode. So I want to increase the pitch from 15 to the 20.6 and press enter. The yaw is about 36 and save it. So when I click on the camera number 1, all the setting will upload it and regenerate for me. So I'm going to manage the field of view with this easy step in here. When I reduce it, I can focus on my target, and when I increase it, I will get far than the target. So 59% is really good right now, and the tree's position is good, but I can move it a little bit to the left side or right side. I want to move it to the out of the camera to see more details of the house than the other places. So I will move it in red axis like that. When you change it in the SketchUp environment, it will change with you at the same time, and real-time rendering is one of the best developments in architectural rendering. So if you want some real-time rendering, my suggestion is Enscape. So I will take another copy on the red axis to this place, for example, and move it in here or here. As you can see, we can see this tree's position after a few seconds. For example, something like that can be good. And I can take some more copies in here and here to fill this background. So it completely depends on you and your experience about the rendering. So I can generate another copy of this tree in here, select both of them and move them a little bit on the blue axis to fill the ground like that. So when I do this job, I can take some more copies to fill my ground like this. So it completely depends on you and your taste, but I prefer to do this work very carefully. So when I deselect all the settings in a SketchUp environment, I can come back to the Enscape environment, and this is the result that you can see in here. It's really wonderful, and only with some little experiences you can reach to these type of results in rendering. So I will come back to the visual setting. For the final step, I'm going to increase the exposure a little bit, some number about 56%, field of view about 60 degree, and depth of field. So I want to increase the rendering quality to the high mode, and you can see the changes in here very fast. If you look at this place in your render, you can see a little bit darkness. How I can improve it? You can come back to the image bar, use the auto contrast, and if it's not work for you, you can reduce the shadows to see more GI calculation in this place. I prefer to use some number about negative 66% and increase the highlights to the 12, and color temperature is good, but about the saturation I can reduce it to the 99%. So I will come back to the main bar, increase the depth of field, turn off the autofocus, and play with the focal point to reach to the best result. when I decrease the focal point or increase it in the Enscape environment, you can see some shiny line. It means that where you want to focus on it. So when I increase the this line, I want to focus on this facade and this body of the house. So some number about 16 meter is really good. And look at these three in here. When I increase the depth of field, it will get much blurriness. So don't do this job because it's totally wrong and not very good or professionally. For example, if you increase the depth of field to the 100, it means that you are amateur. So be careful about this job because realistic rendering needs some normal parameters. So depth of field is about 12%, and I think it can be really good, or I can increase it to the 18% and increase the rendering quality to the ultra mode and change the resolution from HD to the full HD for the better results. So I will close the visual setting, and this is the final result. For the rendering, you only need to click on this place called a screenshot and select your desktop, for example, and file name is Enscape and some numbers, it's not important, and I want to press save. As you can see, the result of the Enscape equal with the V-Ray, Lumion or other type of rendering engines. It's fast, flexible and smart for your job and your architectural projects. So the final reason related to the render, and this is the final quality that you can see in Enscape for SketchUp. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe our YouTube channel. Thanks for your watching and goodbye.